Welcome to this exclusive conversation at ETHRWorld Women Trailblazers on breaking the bias and barriers with Swetha Harikrishnan, HR Director, HackerEarth. Welcome, Swetha.
Hi, Apeksha. Thank you. Thank you so much for that note.
So for the audience introductions for Swetha, let me give you a little bit brief about her. Swetha is a fiercely passionate individual with a focus to add value to individuals, the company or teams that she associates with. In 2018, she joined HackerEarth and looks after organization development, transformation management, and her pet project, diversity and inclusion. Before HackerEarth, for over 5 years, she managed a diverse profile at British Telecommunications. Apart from this, she was associated with multinational companies such as HP and American Express, driving their HR partnerships. A driven individual, Swetha comes with more than a decade's experience in HR. Cultural transformation and inclusion are something that she strives for. In Swetha's own words, and I quote, "As a member of the LGBTQ plus community, inclusion, diversity, and intersectionality are important causes that I stand for. In my previous stints, I had come out to a certain group of work friends. However, when I joined HackerEarth about 3 years ago, I didn't want to hide my orientation anymore. Through my experiences, I've realized that it is important to have safe workplaces where employees feel they can be their authentic selves without any judgment or repercussions. It is my honest endeavor to build such workplaces everywhere I go." And I end the quote. Those were some powerful words, Swetha, and I'm so delighted to have this conversation with you today.
You make me look so good, Apeksha. Thank you for that.
You are indeed good, Swetha. There's no doubt about it. So to roll out this conversation, Swetha, I would like to start with your journey of becoming a leader. So we would really like to know about it. And what was it that got you interested in pursuing a career in HR? Why HR specifically? And something about your support systems and your mentors, if you'd like to share with all of us.
My journey as a leader. Apeksha, when you're asking me this question, firstly, I think I never planned on this journey to become a leader. I'm very fortunate about that. I think one is the only intent for me personally that has guided me professionally in my career has been that whatever work I do, it needs to add value. Because that's important for me to kind of take pride in that work and also help the other person or the company, whoever it is on the other side, with the impact that I'm creating through my work. And that's the only intent that I've been working with personally, and luckily it's kind of given me a lot of great opportunities come my way, whether it's laterally adding more responsibilities or even vertically the kind of growth that I've seen and today where I am. So I've been very, very lucky and fortunate about that. You asked about how HR and why HR. Takes me back to my college days. So I'm a graduate of BSc Biotechnology, which I did from a college called the Anand Sagar in Bangalore. And after graduation, during the whole course of graduation, there is I realized there's an on-the-job training period that we need to do, and I realized that I went and did it in a hospital. And when I did that whole training period, I was looking at sputum and all under the microscope, and I'm like, that made me question saying, do I really want to do this for a longer period of time in my life? I had the question mark on my mind. And then what I did was, after coming back, there was also a time when there was a whole boom of BPO culture happening. So this very good friend of mine, she was an engineering student. She wanted to get into the call center jobs, and the interviews would take a long period of time. So I said, I'll come along with you. So I remember taking my book and going to all these tech parks back in those days in Bangalore and sitting along with her, because the interviews take long hours, and waiting for her to attend the interviews. And I saw these people, and only women, interestingly, come out and call themselves as HR people or recruiters and HR people, HR function, saying, and would kind of progress through this whole interview process for all the candidates, right? So that got me very curious. And I'm like, what are they doing? And they came with such sense of power, and I'm like, what's about it? What is function about? So that got me curious, and I started surfing about that on the internet. And I'm like, oh, this is an interesting profession. Sounds like I like it. It resonates with me. It has to do with people. That got me very curious, and I started looking up on courses. and we bumped into, a few of the colleges in Bangalore offering MBA courses, specialization in HR. And on a random day, in a newspaper on a Sunday morning while we were sipping on our coffee, we saw this notification out saying you can sit in for the entrance exam to get qualified to sit, through the MBA courses. So went ahead and bought the application, applied for it, sat through the exam, got through it. And that's how I got into HR. And I'm so glad that if I'm working, that's in the whole HR space that I'm working, because I feel like I really, I love people. So I really am glad that I'm working in that space. So that's how HR happened. And mentors, did you ask about mentors and support system? Yes. So I've been someone in my family where, so family has been a great support system. My mom, my dad, of course, my sister's dad. I've always been someone who's kind of dropped big bombs on my family saying, hey, I want to get out of biotech. And they're like, what? Biotech is booming and you want us to drop out of it? And I'm like, I don't. So that was, one of the shockers. And they said, okay. And I said, I want to do HR. And like, they've not really even heard about this thing. But they said, okay, trust you, go do it. And I remember being extremely ambitious in one of my earlier jobs and saying, I want to learn so much more about HR. So I want to get into a consulting job. I'm going to, get into consulting. And then as soon as I got into consulting, about 5 months later, I'm like, oh, it doesn't fit me. I feel like I'm not passionate about it. I want to get out of consulting. And like, what? Consulting is booming. And now you want to get out of the consulting space. But I think they've always had a fear, but they've always been extremely supportive of eventually saying, you do what you want to do if you believe in it. Family's been a great support system. My friends, been very lucky to have a very strong support system of friends. Very, very small group, but very strong as a community and support system who's always, they've been my sounding board a lot of the times, even in my career decisions, per se, and validated where I'm good at and what I'm not good at, both. And of course, I think if I am where I am today, I do owe a lot of it to, I know you're using the term mentor. Personally, I don't relate to the term in the traditional sense of it. I've found mentorship in almost every single reporting manager or my boss or a senior leader, right? Even if there's not been a reporting structure there, I think senior leaders, where I've seen some that I've been like, wow, they're doing some brilliant work, creating some brilliant impact. And then I've been very curious about their style and the way they do it and the kind of work they do it. And I feel like, oh, I really resonate with these value systems and this style of working. So I think every single person that I've worked with in the reporting structure that or otherwise, right? I remember I didn't have a very easy start to my career, honestly. I joined one of the retail chains as a management trainee. And I remember very clearly this feeling of being, so, I think it was a retail chain and over there, they just put me into mass recruiting, right? And then saying, okay, you figure it out. And that's a great style. But I'm not someone who was, that style did not really work for me because I didn't know what to do. Some people just figure it out, right? I wasn't like that. I took time to learn, which means I really needed, how I worked better was with someone sitting with me and just explain to me, what are we trying to do? Why are we trying to do? What is the outcome we're trying to drive? I would function that way. And especially as a fresher, I remember being put in a situation and failing terribly as a fresher to the point where I was losing my confidence. And I think I was almost ready to quit the job saying, I'm not good at my job. I remember examples of, and this feeling is so, I still very clearly remember it. When people would drop offers, someone was supposed to join us and they didn't end up joining us, I would end up fearing saying, oh no, I fear going and telling my manager because I felt like that's because of me. So I'm just saying, I was almost ready to quit until the senior leader came and said, I want her in my team. His name is Vishwanath, and oh my God. And he was a mentor to me. He sat with me, and I don't know what he saw in me really, because I was doing horribly bad. he picked me up in his team and he sat down and taught me everything, just a little bit. And then I've just taken off from there, and I think it's really given me, it was a make or break kind of moment for me. And if I'm where I am today, I think he's one of the main people there. And thereon, I think I remember another person teaching me discipline and valuing time, right? Another person teaching me empathy for people and working with people and not take it like your people are working for you, but they're working with you. So I found mentorship in every single person, otherwise all the senior leaders that I've worked with. And also very interestingly, a lot of women there, because I think familiarity and role modeling, I truly believe in that, right? That's why whatever I do today, I'm very conscious that it inspires a lot of people. So role models are very, very important. So yeah, these are the few people who kind of stand out as mentors for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Swetha. In fact, in all the conversations we have had at Women Trailblazers in various formats, all these journeys, the personal journeys of all of you have been so endearing to listen to. And, if we have been not in this format discussing this for certain event or something, and, somewhere met outside, I would have loved to listen to more of such stories and all, because it does remind you of your own journeys, your own struggles, and your own professionals, endeavors, and the people you have met all through across this journey, and you have helped you, grow in your careers. And also, it is absolute delight to listen to your story also here on this forum. So coming to the next question, Swetha, which is, around what you call as DE&I at this moment. So as a champion of diversity and inclusion, which is not just confined to men and women now, how do you see intersectionality help achieve gender equity?
Again, this is a word today which is very, very close to my heart, and it's come with a lot of unlearning and then learning in my own personal journey. I'm going to just picture just a little bit on intersectionality and what that means a little bit. So intersectionality is the whole interconnected nature of several social groups that we talk about, categories that we talk about, like race, sex, sexual orientation, caste, and all of that. Like, for example, I do identify as a woman, which means as gender I'm talking about. And I also am from the queer community. Then there's a whole LGBT sexual orientation that I'm talking about. There's a whole interconnectedness that's getting formed, intersectionality over here. So that's what we're talking about. So intersectionality, what it does is it kind of forces people to put the attention on the wholesomeness of an individual, right? And not and move away from these smaller boxes that we've created. And nothing wrong or right over there, right? That's also good. I mean, it's always a good starting point. But today, there are very clear, strong boxes we've formed in terms of gender, man, woman, by being binary, right? Sexual orientation, put her in that box, put them in that box, several boxes. So intersectionality forces people to really move away from that, because there's a risk of exclusion that happens when you're putting people in those boxes. If you're going to only talk about my gender, then what about my sexual orientation, etc., etc. So look at the wholesomeness of the individual and really places the spotlight and lens on inclusion, or just providing a safe workspace when it comes to working environment, right? For an individual or for your people. When you see a safe space, then everyone gets included, right? So it kind of puts the focus there, and thereby redefining the way we are talking about gender equality today. So when you look at that lens, then your gender equality definition also changes. Gender does not also, we need to look at the wholesome. Gender is a spectrum, which means if you're going to talk about gender equality, which means if a company, my company is going to talk about, hey, I'm doing women development programs, which is great, right? You want to bring in that balance. Then someone from your group, from your people, an employee group might get up and say, but what about me? I don't identify as a woman. I don't identify as a man. I identify as being non-binary in gender. So what is my company doing for me? Am I getting excluded? So there's a risk of that happening. So what I'm saying is intersectionality forces us to, everyone today, to look at the redefinition of what gender equality means. and then to make it a lot more inclusive in that sense. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Swetha. You did, touched upon the term inclusivity here. So building on that, what are your thoughts on inclusivity as we see it in the new normal, or we call it a never normal of work, once after this pandemic and all the uncertainties.
Yeah.
So now we are kind of an ever-changing, ever-evolving world we are living in right now. So how do you, would like to define or explain inclusivity in organizations or workplaces at this time?
So I love this question because they're everywhere out there in papers and all today, right? So I think personally, the new normal, what we're calling the new and etc. So COVID, the whole pandemic situation that we faced has been brilliant for diversity and inclusion as a theme and a topic for inclusion, because it's again forced a lot of the corporates, the whole working place that we have to be, right? It's forced all of us to look into the human side of people at work. So we're not talking about, hey, inclusion and diversity because it's a must-have to do, business sense and all of that. Even if it's not making business sense, you're working with people. So you've also today entered into people's, and I've spoken about it earlier also in my different conversations, but you've entered into people's homes, into a personal space. So you can't ignore the human side of me and my personal side. It's all there in front of you, So I think, what we're calling as the new normal way of working is brilliant, or however this looks like is absolutely brilliant, because one is it's made us very sharply focus on, the outcome. Work needs to be done. You don't need to worry about where someone's based out of. What is my orientation? Nothing. Work needs to be done. How do I look like? Doesn't matter. Work needs to be done. I'll get it done for you. That's all that matters, right? Secondly, I love that it kind of has paved way for, when you talk about overall well-being, mental health and well-being. Right? Earlier, I feel it was a lot more of only the HR people talk about feelings and care about your people, empathy and everything. Today, if you're not a leader or a people manager who is considered to care for your people or is empathetic towards your people, or if your EQ or emotional quotient is low, you're going to have a very difficult time managing a company or or a set of group of people for that matter. So even as an individual contributor, one will have a difficult time. So I really think that it's been brilliant for this whole conversation around inclusion that we're talking about. Yeah.
Great thoughts there, Swetha. So we have come to the closure of this interaction. To conclude this session, and in line with the theme of this year's International Women's Day on breaking biases, how do you choose to break the bias? I'm sure you're already doing it in your own way, but how would you like to, put that one way ahead, maybe?
I personally like to, challenge, break the bias by challenging the whole notion of women there is no one way for a woman to be. Which means if I'm being assertive or even aggressive at work, it doesn't make me more of a man and less of a woman. If I'm if I'm tearing up and being vulnerable at work, that doesn't make me more of a woman. If I'm a woman who likes women romantically, that doesn't make me more of a man liking a woman. And today, if I come and tell you, hey, I feel like a woman today, tomorrow I feel like a man, and the day after I feel like neither, that is okay too. And I really want to, and that's what I would want to kind of challenge this whole notion of there is no one way of being a woman, really.
Those were some awesome thoughts, Swetha, and thank you for joining us, Swetha.
Thank you so much for having me, Apeksha. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.